It says their silver and their gold with them for the name of the Lord thy God and the Holy One of Israel, because he has glorified you. And he goes on. And it also speaks in Isaiah 11:11 about them returning from the islands of the sea and from other places. Manasseh ben Israel says the islands of the sea must be the islands of the west. Islands in the west. In the west, that means, and he must mean somewhere to the rest beyond the Atlantic Ocean, or in the Atlantic Ocean, that he identifies them with the Americas, with Americans. And that also accords to the literal sense of the Bible. And we notice in association with doves, as Hosea said, they shall, incidentally the Hosea that we quoted in chapter 11:10 and on and 11, he says they will roar like a lion, they shall come trembling from the west, from the sea, and like a bird from Egypt, like a dove from the land of Assyria. So Isaiah says they shall come, fly like a cloud, like doves to their roots, that is, to their home. And so what is interesting in is that the name of America is also known as Colombia. Named after Christopher Columbus, the first person to discover America according to conventional understanding. In 1492 was Colombia, Christopher Columbus. And because of that, America was sometimes known as Colombia. Colombia was depicted, you can look it up on Wikipedia or in anywhere else, depicted as a woman, a goddess-like female, an impersonification of the United States, just as Britain had Britannia, a woman, and France also had a liberty, and Italy also had a female personification. The French had Marianne, as especially seen in political cartoons of the early 1800s, 1900s. So too, America had a Lady Columbia, Miss Columbia. I've seen Columbia pictures. They took this idea, Columbia Pictures, this as its logo in 1924. And she's been associated with the Statue of Liberty. And Columbia, the adjective, also have the adjective in English, the word Columbian, meaning from the United States of America. Such as in 1993, the World's Columbian Exposition held in Chicago. Columbian means from the USA. And is named after Columbus, and Christopher Columbus, USA. Well, at least it's something, it's a hint. And we get a lot of points like that, and the beauty of it all is that they all add up to one composite picture all together. The standard of Joseph, Midrash Rabbah, Bamidbar, says that the standard of Joseph depicted a picture of Egypt. So it had to be something you look at it, and it reminds you of Egypt straight away. Okay, as something that you look at it, and as soon as you see it, you think of Egypt. So that must have been a pyramid. You look at a pyramid, you think of Egypt. And what is the symbol of the USA? It's a pyramid. And this was the standard of Joseph, according to the Midrash. It's depicted on the Great Seal and on the dollar bill, which are taken from the Great Seal, and it represents the USA. Also, Joseph in Egypt was a provider to all the world. He provided the Egyptians with food and the Israelites with food. And people from all around, all the nations of the earth came to him because it was a worldwide and international famine. And Joseph had stored up food after having received a prophecy, having been told through by the Almighty to do this. And Joseph was responsible for feeding them. See Genesis 41:57 and 42:6. And the USA is related to Joseph. And the USA has aided and helped every nation on earth at some time or other received help, assistance, material assistance from the USA. Every single nation. That is Joseph. There's no one else who's done this. The USA has aided and helped every nation on earth. In addition to that, we also had not so long ago the Green Revolution, 1950s, 1960s and onwards, continuing to our time. Mainly US scientists, overwhelmingly US scientists, funded by the US government, but more than the government, by individuals and philanthropic institutions in the USA. They pay scientists to research food production, and they enable the production of plants and agricultural techniques to solve problems found in the third world and found throughout the earth. And they produce new types of seeds and new types of harvesting and new types of everything, of irrigation. So did Israel. The state of Israel also did the same, but on to a lower scale. And this Green Revolution that the USA was overwhelmingly responsible for has kept alive hundreds of millions, possibly thousands of millions, a good portion of the peoples of the earth that they live now by virtue of that. That is what Joseph does, and that was what prophesied would be the task of Joseph. As we said, America is named after Machir, Machiri, the firstborn son of Manasseh. What does Machir mean in Hebrew? Or what is one of its meanings? Machir means price, the concept of selling. Machir in a nominative form literally means capitalism, buying and selling. And that is what America is. America is the foremost capitalist nation in the earth. Another point of interest is that there were actually not 12 tribes, but 13 tribes. You have 13 tribes. The 13 tribes, as we find, for instance, in Exodus Chapter 1, we find the tribes are listed: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher. And then it says that Joseph was in Egypt. And altogether with Joseph, there you have 12 tribes. Okay, 12 tribes. See Exodus 1:5. But elsewhere it says that Joseph has 2 tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. So when you count Joseph as 2 tribes and count the other tribes that we counted, the other 11 tribes, we get 13 tribes. 11 plus 2 makes 13, it doesn't make 12. So one of the tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh, Ephraim and Manasseh are counted as Joseph. When they're counted as Joseph, you get 12 tribes. When they're counted separately, you get 13. So you could say that if you were going to count the tribes according to the individual names, you're going to get Ephraim and Manasseh left over, and therefore one of them, either Ephraim or Manasseh, should be possibly not counted. So what do you get? Who's not going to be counted? We find that it can't be Joseph altogether, because Joseph is considered the firstborn. It says in one, he wasn't a physical firstborn. Reuben was a physical firstborn, but Joseph took his place. See 1 Chronicles 5:1. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, he was indeed the firstborn, but because he defied his father's bed, his birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel. The sons of Joseph, it says more than one. Joseph, both of the sons of Joseph were both counted. They both had the right of the birthright. The son of Israel, the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel, so that the genealogy is not listed according to the birthright. Yet Judah prevailed over his brothers, and from him came a ruler, although the birthright was Joseph's. It goes on. So there we see that Joseph had the firstborn right. Later on we find that Ephraim referred to as the firstborn. We've already seen that Ephraim had a greater blessing than Manasseh. He was to be blessed before Manasseh. We find especially that in Jeremiah 31:9 that Ephraim had the right of the firstborn. It says that they shall come with weeping, Jeremiah 9. Jeremiah 31:9, they shall come with weeping and with supplications. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters. In a straight way in which they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. So therefore Ephraim would be counted amongst the 12 tribes. And Manasseh was extra. He was as if to say the 13th tribe. So, you have the 13th tribe. But there were 13 tribes. Even though the Bible counts 12 tribes. So how does the Bible do this? It juggles the counting. Occasionally it counts all the tribes, including Ephraim and Manasseh, separate tribes, but leaves out Levi, because Levi was scattered amongst the other tribes. Another place it counts all the tribes, including Levi and Ephraim and Manasseh, but it leaves out Simeon. Whatever was in the principle, there was 13 tribes. Therefore, the idea of 13 is important to the 13th tribe, to Manasseh. We find that the number 13 is important to the USA. There were 13 original colonies that founded the USA. From that it expanded to 50 states as today. The original, already there were 13 of them, and they represent the 13 original founding states. They're on the flag of the USA, and they represent the 13 tribes of Israel. And we have different studies. I have a few books in my library, and others, quite a few studies have recently been done, showing that within the USA you have different regions, different nations almost, based on the history, based on culture, based on ethnic origins, based on values, based on politics. They divide America up. One divides it up into 3 different sections, another into 7. Others have other divisions, but the divisions exist. The states of America may be divided up according to different criteria, with the different divisions sharing something between each other, more so than they share than those who are not within these categories. So we are working, or hope to be working, more on showing how the USA is divided up into 13 different sections, each section relating back to one of the original 13 tribes, and to one of the original 13 states, the founding states of the USA, and from them relating back to the 13 tribes. I'll give you an example. We found that New York represents Judah. There are more Jews in New York than anywhere else in the world outside of the state of Israel. Apart from the state of Israel, there are more Jews in New York than anywhere else. That is counting people known to be Jews, not counting Jews who are assimilated, who consider themselves Gentiles, who intermarry with Gentiles, and the census figures are counted as Gentiles, though physically they descend from Judah. There are also a great number of them. So there are more Jews in New York than anywhere else. And also we have another state, Utah. Utah is totally different from New York. Utah is a state founded by Mormons. It is fundamentalist type of religion. It takes a literal view, attitude to the Bible and so on. But there are similarities. There are similarities between Utah and New York, especially since many of the early founders, the early settlers of Utah, they came from the New York area. And another point is that Utah in Assyrian dialects, or in dialects of the ancient Middle East, is another way of pronouncing the name Judah, or very similar to it. So on that basis alone we may associate Utah with Judah, as we also find the New York associated with Judah, and so still, and go through all the different states and find similar associations and find how they interlock with each other, and on different points parallel each other. So that is a possibility. As we said, Manasseh was become great after Ephraim, and great rabbis such as Bnei Yisachar also mentioned that. They explained the verses as saying that, and that Ephraim would precede Manasseh, and Britain, Great Britain and its dominions did precede the USA. Another point is that Natsiv, another great commentator, says that the material prosperity of Manasseh was to exceed that of Britain. It was to exceed that of Ephraim. And indeed, the material prosperity of the USA has exceeded that of Britain. And that is what we have. We see that Manasseh was to emerge from Joseph, to become greater after Joseph, but in some ways to exceed Ephraim. And Manasseh was also to become the most powerful country in the earth, as the USA is. The USA, armed forces of the USA exceed those of all the rest of the earth put together. And the economic output of the USA is 20% of that of the whole world, if not more. And that is when the USA is, relatively speaking, on a downward swing. It should even be much higher than that, and it could be. So that is what we have said. It also is noted that shall pour water from his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters. His king shall be higher than Agag, that is, he shall be the most powerful country in the earth. And his kingdom shall be exalted. God brings him out of Egypt to have strength like a ram, and a unicorn. He shall consume the nations, his enemies. He shall break their bones and pierce them with his arrows. He bows down, he lies down as a lion. And as a lion, who shall arouse him? Shall hear the principle of a lion and unicorn, the symbols of Britain, being associated with the greatness of Israel in the end times. Blessed to see you, blesses you, and cursed to see you, curses you. And again he says in Micah 5:8, the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many peoples, like a lion among the beasts of the forest, like a young lion among flocks of sheep, who if he passes through, both tears down and tears in pieces. And so Deuteronomy 33:27, the eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. He will thrust out the enemy from before you and say, destroy. That was in Deuteronomy 33:27. And it says, you are my battle axe. It says in Jeremiah. It says in Jeremiah 51:20-21, you are my battle axe and weapons of war. That is the policeman of the globe. You are my policeman. First, Britain was a policeman of the globe. Britain stopped the international trade in slaves. 2,000 British sailors died to break the international slave trade, and they broke it. The British did that in the 1800s. They defied the world. British ships boarded ships from everywhere. They almost went to war with America over it. And they freed slaves. And they stopped international trade in slaves. And the British were first of all the policemen of the globe, and now after that it became America. And when it was in America, it was Britain and France. It was one of the other Israelite countries. Whenever they had trouble, whenever one country intervened on behalf of another for the good of the others, for the good of the locals, it was one of those of the Israelite nations. And it says, you are my battle axe and weapon of war. For with you I will break the nations in pieces. With you I will destroy kingdoms. With you I will break in pieces the horse and its rider. With you I will break in pieces the chariot and its rider. You are my battle axe and weapon of war. It also says, it says again in Zechariah 10:7, those of Ephraim shall be like a mighty man, the heart shall rejoice as with wine. Yes, the children shall see it and be glad, the heart shall rejoice in the Lord. So that is part, a portion of what we have. We have much more on that, or a good deal more on that on every issue. And so it shows, it indicates, it confirms our belief that the Russian tribes are amongst Western nations, and that they are important, and that they are dominant and distinguished as being great, mighty and wealthy. And this is proof the lost tribes are amongst them. They represent the lost tribes, especially the tribes of Brit-Am and Manasseh.